Hey, we're here with Mike Vaters. The last couple episodes, we've had a lot of fun reminiscing about some of the earlier days with Black Stallion and even some of my history, which, you know, we don't really mean to get into. It's just, it's neat because...
It happens, that's where his history starts kicking in when I come along.
Yeah, but tell us about the first crash. I think everybody's seen it. It was at a Pin to Point series. It was, I think, in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. Your first big...
Yeah, it's when Penda was just starting to get off the ground, and that series was just starting to get big. And I had my, Black Stallion, original Black Stallion, which I revamped it. And back then we were kind of all in the, trying to figure out which way to go. Mm-hmm. So that was more of an experimental stage of which direction I was going to go. Was my Black Stallion, my original truck. Mm-hmm. And I had 4 links and coilover. Well, I had airbags on it.
Yeah.
And I actually had a Custer shock on it, and on the corner. And then, I was racing Kemosabe, which was a straight leaf spring truck at the time, and we thought it was going to be a pretty easy race, and I took off down through there. It was a very good pass, and I blew a rear steering line. The rear steering line was actually stainless, and it had the white polyurethane lining inside. And well, after it blew and I flipped and tore the cab all up when I got home and was putting it all back together, I got looking at the rear steering line, and a weld spall got on it, and when that's actually melted thinned that inner lining out, and then when I landed, it bursted the line, and then of course it went crooked at that high speed, and we all know that's not good.
No, there have been many a rollover, especially in them Penda series. There was a lot of rollovers from rear steering failing, and then everybody started locking them out.
Bolting it and locking them.
Now not so much because everybody's got a lot better equipment. Back in those days, everybody had to experiment and come up with your own stuff, and that's what always appealed to me with Mike is
that's just
you always be looking at different ideas, and you helped develop a lot of stuff through the years.
That's what I think Marty and I become a lot of friends. Become friends. We developed a lot. He's always wanted to develop, new stuff and better stuff, and it's kind of hard for me today because now the monster truck's more of a standard, bolt on, which it makes it nice because everybody's got the same parts. But that's still hard for me to. Because I always want to change, do this. But
well, and that's my struggle too. I love the days of different ideas. I mean, when you look back at the old school monster trucks, everybody had a different take on it. Yeah. You'd go to a show and one guy's got a leaf spring pack that thick, and they got so much arch on them they're almost touching at the top, and you go, wow. And the next guy's got a 4-link or a swing arm with airbag. I mean, there was so much difference.
Yeah, then we're starting to cut the leaf springs in half and half a spring, and no problem. Head is upside down. It was,
a lot of different stuff. And that's the days, I mean, for being kind of a fabricator, and same way with you, our minds are always thinking how you can make something work better. And
I still struggle with it today. I get an idea in my mind, and I got to prove it and put it there on the table, build it or whatever.
Well, and you guys' trucks, even to this day, are a little bit different than the average trucks. You're still building your own chassis. A lot of the components you're building yourself.
Yeah, this newest chassis we got from Eddie Mike, he did a good job with it, and but I still had to change some things on it, put my own twist, put the radiator where I want it, and some different other little things. We just this new truck, we just put it's like a Pelican box. We put our wiring all in it, so everything's completely sealed from the weather and the elements. We can just shut that. All the wiring's completely away from mud. And, but, I still got to put that edge in there where I just, I do my own ideas, which I'm not saying they're better, but I feel that there are some better ideas.
Well, and you've come so far. I mean, through the years, I remember when I first met you, the stuff was actually, you had a lot of ideas, but it wasn't refined, right. And now you look at your equipment and it's a lot more refined. The welds look so much better. I remember that original truck when you were starting to do the airbags and the Custer shocks and everything. I mean, there was some pretty crude things, It was like, we need to reinforce this, so we have angle iron, let's use it, or we have a piece of tubing. So there was a lot of inconsistencies where now, your stuff is so nice.
Well, I learned to weld on a farm.
Yeah. So
Just because they were ugly welds doesn't mean they weren't strong.
no, they was
Yeah.
strong.
But yeah, that's that's how I basically learned to weld and start building my own stuff.
hmm
I didn't go to welding school
hmm
but we just along the way you get better at everything.
So what does Mike Vaters do? Of course, you're always on the road. You're always playing with trucks. But what do you do as a hobby, or what do you do to unwind? A lot of people only see you in this environment. What can you tell us? What do you do as a hobby, or what do you do when you're sick of monster trucks? Or is there never a day like that?
I restore the old ones and put them in museums. But yeah, everybody knows the Equalizer. I mean, it was on the chopping block to get just take it to the scrapyard. I'm like, that's not going to the scrapyard. It was actually, it landed right in my town.
Okay.
And the guy that bought it, he stripped the planetaries off and everything that was kind of still, that was good, he took off, and it was just sitting there on big wooden blocks, and I was like, I want this. So we cut a deal, and then of course when David Morse got inducted, it was sat in my shop for 3 years. We're talking, Mikey and I were talking, what are we going to do with this thing? And let's push it out back. No, we're not going to push it out back. And then I seen David Morse guy. I said, I know what we're going to do. We didn't get it running 100%, but we got it good enough to put in the museum within like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was a quick build. And it was a super neat unveiling. Those that were there were amazed. And it really threw everybody off because nobody ever thought it was that truck.
Yeah, everybody, it was like 3 or 4 people there that knew there was. And then, and I remember I was hanging out with, Gary Cook.
Gary Cook, yeah.
He took us all over to the museum, and I was like, I got a bunch of pictures I want to show you tonight. I wish I could have brought it. And then I remember Billy Joe Miles and all them, and that's how I could get him up to where it was. Billy was standing right up to where I had the truck covered, and he goes, "Oh, there's Billy," and he went up, and then we froze everything right there, and then and I thought Gary was going to cry, and then that was the same thing with Jack Wildman. I mean,
with Taurus.
The Taurus chassis was setting off in the weeds, and a guy was trying to sell it, and he was going to sell it to some mega truck guys. We all knew that was going to go to the slaughterhouse there. So then I talked the guy into selling it to me, and that was about a 6-7 week redo, and of course I made it run. And then
now you're actually even brought back the Taurus name on one of the race trucks.
Yeah,
so
I run it on. I actually ran last night at East Rutherford for Monster Jam at a big stadium, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, so that's really neat. But all right, well, it's been great visiting with Mike. Hopefully you fans out there learned some things that you didn't know, and anything else you want to talk about, or we're good?
My dog, Sissy, she's by my side. She likes flashlights. Bougie Ite. She's my one of my best friends. She goes everywhere with me, and when she wants out of my holler, she'll do what she can to get out. Just the other day, she ripped this blind down. That's why we don't have a blind here, right, sis? But other than that, no, I stay pretty busy, and like I said, she goes on the road every show with me.